Hey guys. She's laughing. She's trying to ruin takes, but no, we're going to stick with this one. Kiriam Sparta.
Sarah.
If you haven't checked out our last video, we're doing our Before Watchmen reviews for the day of December 28th.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's what today is anyway.
Yeah,
we just did Moloch #2. If you haven't watched our review, watch it because it's a great comic and it's definitely worth your time. Anywho.
And your monies.
And your monies. So now we're going to be moving on to Night Owl. Night Owl is finally done and it's number 4 out of 4. Quick review. I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I liked it just as much as the other Night Owls. I mean, Night Owl never had a bad issue in my opinion. So, really good. And right away too, I'll just say, you find out more about Rorschach in this one than Night Owl, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is not a bad thing. I just wasn't expecting to get that much about Rorschach.
Well, I think to learn about Rorschach, you have to learn about, to learn about Night Owl, you have to learn about Rorschach and Night Owl's first teaming up.
Yeah.
Which helps you get more into Night Owl's character and why he is the way he is.
And to be fair, I mean, he was just your typical, like, I've got money, this is my idol, I'll be a hero, now I'm not a hero, I'll retire.
Yeah.
So it works. So long story short, that's it. Buy it, buy the whole series. They've all been really good.
Yep.
This isn't Comedian People, this is Night Owl. That's also next week, and I'm sure we'll be thrilled to do that one too.
Can't wait.
So the cover of Night Owl #4, badass. I like Rorschach there chained up in flames and Night Owl diving in trying to save him. Looks pretty cool.
Yep.
And it works. So of course, as you know from watching our previous video, and if you're a good watcher, you've already done that. You've watched it. A watcher. Somebody's watching me.
I love that song.
Oh, that's a good song. Yeah, Rorschach was basically working, well, not working, but volunteering at a church. And turns out, crazy priest who runs the church is crazy. Crazier than crazy.
He's crazy murdering.
Crazy murdering. He found a huge pile of dead bodies and got knocked out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it basically opens with Rorschach. He's in costume too, because he was in costume when he was going to save these people before he got knocked out. Sitting on top of a pile of bodies, and he's handcuffed to like a really big lady in it, and that's actually kind of a interesting shot. I liked it. Very neat. So I get into the whole like what he's spieling, but he is just saying your prototypical like just crazy bullshit.
Crazy babble.
Crazy babble.
This is why I'm doing it. I'm right. I know I'm right, and message from God.
Yeah, God's telling him to do everything.
Yeah.
And then of course it cuts back to Twilight Lady and Night Owl. They're looking for the Reverend as well at this point.
They figured out that the person who was murdering all of these prostitutes is the Reverend.
Through like fingerprints and all that fun stuff.
Fancy detective work.
Fancy detective work.
Yeah.
Of course, Rorschach found out faster through just being there.
Lucky.
So they're going off to get him, and then it cuts back to Rorschach sitting there, and the Reverend basically explains how he was enlightened by God. He's sleeping with a prostitute, and apparently he has been for quite a while.
On a weekly basis, I think?
I think she says almost twice a week, yeah. And of course he's married and everything, and he just recently did like a big, you know, he was picketing a porn store, he's against, you know, smut, vile, filth. So of course it's funny that he's been sleeping with a prostitute this whole time. Irony. So of course she threatens, she's like, you know, I wonder what happened if I went to the cops with this information, or the public, the press, and just strangles her.
She tries blackmailing him, but
he's having none of that shit. Just murders her.
Yep.
The one thing that I thought was kind of cool though is he burns it down, burns her apartment down, everything, you know, cover up his tracks, and he says he's packing up his stuff and he's getting ready to go, but then they just rebuild it and nothing kind of happens, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like, oh,
the neighborhood found out what she was and they started kicking those types of people out, which is all that really happened.
Yeah, he got no repercussions at all. Like. Nothing. So he's like, well, that's when I found out I should stay and keep doing God's work, because clearly he wants me to keep doing this. So basically this whole pile of bodies is just, they're all prostitutes is what I'm getting from it, but it could be really like homeless people too, or anything.
I think they're all prostitutes, just different sizes, ages, genders.
All that kind of thing.
It doesn't matter. If they're prostitutes, They're in the body pile.
And of course, the whole time he's doing it ends with he's like, and of course, then I started liking doing it too. I like helping God with everything and blah blah blah. You know it. It's like
Standard psychobabble.
standard psychobabble. Like you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to go into each thing. Walks away, lights the bodies on fire with Rorschach on top. I thought that reminded me of the Dark Knight where the Joker burns
Burns all the money.
all the money with the guy on top of it as well. Slams him shut in there, and Rorschach's kind of like, well, fuck. So Twilight Lady and Night Owl are like, he's like, where is this church? She's like, we'll follow the smoke because now it's on fire.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat. We get this shot of Rorschach. He's trying to break out of there. He's screaming, there's fire. And I like this, like sex shop handcuffs. Cheap metal, not regulation steel. Let it burn.
He holds his hands out to the flame to let the handcuffs burn off, and he's, well...
He's getting hurt.
Oh.
Badly. And of course we cut to Night Owl and Twilight Lady finally breaking in. And Twilight Lady said a line that just actually I laughed out loud at. They get there, and Night Owl's like, okay, we'll split up, you know, you go up, I'll go down. And she goes, well, that is your specialty. And
he's like, oh, jeez.
He's like, oh, jeez. I just lost it. And then, of course, cuts her. She's like, I love doing that to him. And then Rorschach cuts back to him, finally busts out of the chains, puts on his mask, puts on his hat. Night Owl's banging on the door. Is anyone in there? And then Rorschach's like, oh, Owl, is that you?
Yeah.
He's like, Rorschach, what are you doing here? He's
He's
like, discuss later. Open the goddamn door.
Yep.
He's like, okay, stand back. Hits it, door opens, and Rorschach jumps out on fire, and it looks so badass.
Yep.
And I like his line too. He's like, you alright? And Rorschach's like, yes, no, doesn't matter. He's like, you tracked the Dean here too? Something like that.
Yep.
Rorschach's so good. And he's like, what's inside? And then he finally sees Night Owl sees the bodies, and he's like, what? And Rorschach's already gone. He's running after the Reverend. And of course, the Reverend's sitting there. He's holding Rorschach's "The End Is Nigh" sign. And Twilight Lady basically runs into the priest there. And she's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. He's like, why did you do that to all those women? And he's like, you know, I could go through all my psychobabble, but just whips out a gun and starts shooting at her.
Yeah, he calls her a slut. He obviously knows who she is and what she is and just tries to shoot her.
Or he says based on your getup, you look like a slut.
Yeah.
Goes to shoot, and he's like, she's gone. Where?
Kicks him in the face.
Kicks him in the face.
Or the hand.
And then they actually do get into a little bit of a fist fight here where, I thought she was going to just floor him, but they're actually kind of...
He overpowered her for a second there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, this guy's very old school religion, old school life almost, because like, you think you're so smart, you think you're good enough to fight a man. Like, ooh. Don't say that.
And she counters with, when I see one, I'll let you know.
Which is a good one.
Which
I like that.
Makes him even angrier.
So they're fighting, and of course Night Owl shows up at this point, and he sees him, and he gets a flashback of when his dad was beating his mom, and he just loses his shit, just charges in,